It's waiting for me. All right. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Is it working? All right. So I'm here with
Anybody
Dave.
on?
I believe we're
I
on.
don't see anybody.
Not yet. Let's see. Let's see. Waiting for me. Okay. So it says I'm live. So there we go. I think I'm live. Let me see. Okay. Can anybody hear us? We all good? Let's see in the chat. I'm here with David McDonald, who is the key designer on Inhumanoids. And let's see. Wait. Okay. Yeah, it's starting. Here we go. It's asking me. I'm just checking it. We are online. I am looking on my phone so I can see. So, okay.
There's nobody there.
There's nobody there yet. I believe they will show up, though. We will show up. And if not, you and I will have a great conversation and it'll go on my channel where a bunch of people watch it later. So we're good.
Great.
Okay. So here, I'm here with David McDonald, who is the key designer on Inhumanoids and also a bunch of other things over the years too. And we're going to talk a little bit about, his career. And we're also going to go over, you can actually check out, if you're an Inhumanoids fan, you want to check out his Facebook page, David McDonald Art. He has a bunch of images of old, all the designs, not even just for the original run of Inhumanoids, but also, year 2 and year 3 and what would have happened in those, other years. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and get into, the design elements. And but yeah, thanks a lot, David, for sitting with me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I'm glad you're doing this. It's great. Yeah, in year 3, maybe it would have gone to 5, 6 years. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
I had the designs.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that reading about it is it wasn't, we think of it as it died off in a year, but it was by no means a monetary failure. It made, from what I understand, $70-80 million.
I was surprised to hear that. I was not aware of that.
Yeah. So I guess it's more just you were just competing with literally everything else. It's 86, right? So everything. You got last couple of years of He-Man, major G.I. Joe. We got was it beginning? I don't know. I feel like you had 20, 30 lines. You just walk into I remember walking into the store of Toys R Us and just seeing, everything you could choose from, absolutely everything. It was overwhelming.
Actually, when you put it that way, I hadn't thought about it before, but there was a lot of competition. I think when we were doing Inhumanoids, we thought, oh, it's probably not going to do that well because you got the bad guys that were, I think, $25. And then you got the good guys that are $4.99 or $5.99. It's it doesn't, from a marketing point, it doesn't make much sense because of that. But there was a lot of competition. G.I. Joe was at its height. You had Transformers. One reason I went to Hasbro was because I was so into robots, and I thought, they're doing Transformers. Maybe I can work on Transformers. So I was all excited about going there. So that was big. And the other one, which I was remembering, came out, I think right around the same time Inhumanoids did, or maybe a little later, was Turtles.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I remember when Turtles was coming out, I saw it and I thought, Turtles? Who's going to buy that?
Yeah.
Action figure Turtles? That's stupid.
Now look at it, and there's a turtle of everything you could possibly imagine. There's
I know.
There's birthday party turtle and He-Man turtle, and it's
we can say there was a lot of competition. That's why it failed. But I think it was gonna fail anyways. It was kind of edgy, and from a marketing point, it was marketed weird. In fact, I think the second and third year we were trying to make up for that and do lower price points for the evil.
Hey.
I think second year there were only going to be the 2 monsters, but more kind of affordable characters.
Yeah, I think that would have worked because actually one of my absolute favorite things ever of this line is the Nightcrawler character from just a very cool, bizarre design, and also in the cartoon he's really terrifying. He's
Nightcrawler. Oh, that's the skeleton guy.
Yeah, skeleton guy with a whip. He's got a little whip arm.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
This guy. This guy's Nightcrawler, right? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, that's him. Okay, there's yeah,
Yeah.
this is a prototype.
Oh man, that thing's awesome. Yeah, I think like because that would honestly that would have made it. I had some of the guys. I had like the 4 Earth Core guys.
Yeah,
But yeah, you didn't have anybody for them to fight unless you went and bought the giant monster. But if you had
right.
Nightcrawler, man, that would have worked. I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, the second year was Nightcrawler and the bad guy, I can't remember his name.
Blackthorn showed up.
Blackthorn. Uh, so he was gonna come out. Um, so yeah, there was gonna be starting to be a lower price point Evil, which was good. Because it's hard. I remember when they came out, I was, even though I was like 30 years old, I was kind of playing with them, the little guy against the big guy, and it's kind of weird. I mean, of course the little guy's not gonna win.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
In fact, you're looking at the Inhumanoids. You're like, all right, what are you going to do against? Like, what is this guy going to do against Metlar?
yeah,
Or
right.
then you find out if they have all these powers too, like decompose, touches anybody, they're a zombie, and like, there's no way you can win. You can't.
Yeah. It was because I know when I was little, I used to play with little men all the time, and you're always kind of playing like this, it's like battling back and forth. But if you have the monster, you're kind of, it's just, and then the monster's arms flip, and I think my Metlar's arms ended up falling off. Rubber bands broke.
Sad. I think Decompose's head tends to fall off a lot. I believe.
Right.
That's one of those where you see the head goes. A lot of them on eBay are just headless.
One thing I wanted to show you was the origins of the scientists, because I got this robot, which I brought to show you.
Oh yeah.
I got this robot. It must have been like, I don't know, 83 or 84. And I really liked it. You can see simple articulation. But what I liked about it, I liked the proportions of it. I thought it was really cool. A little head. There you go. and the real basic thing. So arms and legs. So when I did the guys, if you look at the guys, here's the guy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Augur. Yeah.
I use this guy as my kind of guide, because like I never did action figures before. This was my first action figure ever.
Oh, right.
So, I really like this guy. So I thought, what if I do him like this? And of course, we couldn't do a ton of articulation back then. It's real basic stuff. And they wanted to do the features, which are real simple, and the light. So this was kind of what we were down to. But this was the proportion that I worked off of that I really liked. And I still like this guy. I've got him. So I must have had him since like 80 something. He's still around, still holding them together. So
what is he? Is he?
I don't even know. He's got some writing
some sort of
on his foot, but he's very light, and he's all like blow molded parts that are stacked together. But his head doesn't move.
Okay, yeah, that explains the horns on Augur's head.
Oh right, yeah. Oh right, and that's funny. That's the guy I picked to show.
Yeah.
Look at how similar they are. I didn't even notice that before. But this guy's getting all sticky. You know how plastic gets sticky?
Oh yeah,
it's getting all weird and sticky.
He's the best character because in the cartoon he's an asshole.
Is he?
Yeah.
I haven't watched the cartoon in a long time. I can't remember.
He's the one he's a prick to everybody. He's like he's miserable. He hates the media. He's like always, screaming at the TV, he throws his shoe at the TV and breaks it.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to watch it again. It's been, I think I watched it when my son was little, so that must have been in the mid 90s, I guess.
Oh, it's great. It's such a good show.
Yeah, it's a great show. When I first saw the show, like when I designed all the characters, I just designed them. I did one sketch, I did one color of each character and sent it out to the animation studio, and they put it in the show. And then the same with like Metlar, I did Metlar, sent him out. And when I saw the show, it's like, oh my God, these guys are so cool. They've got personalities, because for me, it was like, I just knew them as a sketch. So when I saw them in person, well, not in person, but on the show, it's like, wow, it's so neat that they're coming to life. This guy that I just did on my sketch pad,
right?
Sent out. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, I thought the show was great, except in the later years got kind of strange.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's really weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrifying and it's weird, you know. But I think
Yeah, it got to the point I think I stopped seeing it or watching it because it was just getting so weird. I couldn't even, I couldn't go with it anymore because it started out so strong, and then when the Statue of Liberty thing and all that stuff, it's like, I don't know, kind of weird for me.
Oh, we got somebody there. We got someone in the chat. Melted Copper. This is yeah. We're not watching the Deke show. We're talking Inhumanoids. So we attempted to watch a Deke cartoon, which is a cartoon the company that made I made Mask and a few other things, and they shut us down last time. So, but anyway, so so let's get. So how did you get started as a toy designer?
Well, let me take you through my career.
I'd love to.
So I went to school for car design, and so I worked at Opel in Germany for a few years, and then I went to Atari in San Francisco. I found car designing. I know it sounds exciting, but I found it so boring.
Really?
Wow. I had to wear a tie every day, which was weird. So, I went to Atari, and it was much more exciting. But then Atari kind of folded up, and that went away. So I ended up getting a job at Play School in Chicago. And from Play School, I was only at Play School like 9 months, and they got bought out by Hasbro. So they moved me to Rhode Island.
Okay.
So when I got to Rhode Island, they put me into boys action, which I hadn't done boys action before. I came from a car background, which I guess kind of boys action.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because I thought of myself as a car guy. So when I went in there, at the time, Hasbro didn't have a lot of design people. They were kind of getting bigger and bigger. They had Joe, and they had Transformers that had just come out. I think Transformers was on the second year when I got there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So they didn't have a lot of guys that did action figures. They had Ron Rudat, who was the Joe guy and a really great action figure guy, and they had nobody else. So they had these action figure lines coming in, which were quite a few, and Inhumanoids was one of them. And it's like, Dave, you think you can do action figures? So I just jumped in and did the action figures. But as you can see, if you go on my site, you can see a lot of the poses are the same pose. And I would draw over them. So I would do maybe like 5 or 6 different poses and just do designs over those poses. Because I wasn't a big figure drawing person, but I was all they had. So it's like, we got nobody else. Ron's too busy doing Joe. So it was my deal. But when I started, when Inhumanoids came to Hasbro, I'll just focus on Inhumanoids. Now I can talk about other stuff I did at Hasbro too, but this is an Inhumanoids talk, so I'll talk about that. When I started, it was me and a guy named Todd Wise. We started it, and we had the 3 monsters. So I think I got the Scientist, and I got Metlar, and Todd drew up Decompose and Tendril.
Okay, yeah.
I did. If you go on my site, I did an initial, because I don't think we knew what the other monsters were. I think the only monster we kind of knew was a Metlar kind of monster, but we didn't know the other one. So I did a couple rough sketches of what those monsters could be. One was a decomposing character, which I have a sketch on my site, and the other one was a Tendril character. They don't look anything like the final one, because when Todd got it, he did whatever he wanted based on that Tendril or Decompose idea.
Right.
So that's kind of how it broke down the first year. I did the Scientists, and I think the trees and the granite guys, I can't remember. We might have divided those up. I can't remember if I did one or not. I know I did some sketches of the granite guy, but I can't remember if I did the final design. But then, so we did the show, and then it didn't go that well. So I think second year I became the lone designer. But I think Ron did a couple characters, which I think I have one on my site.
Yes.
But I think he might have done another one too. I can't remember. But the Slither character, the big monster.
Yeah.
Named Slither, right? I don't know if Ron did him or not. I didn't do him. I think Ron might have done him. I'm not sure.
Did you do gag oil?
I did gag oil, yeah.
Gag oil is awesome. Yeah.
Gag oil was weird because when it started, I wanted to do a character that would look like little dinosaur arms like this. So originally he had like little arms.
Yeah.
But we had to get rid of the arms because we couldn't afford them. We couldn't afford 2 little arms. It's like, Dave, you got to get rid of the arms. So I thought, well, maybe he just becomes like an eating machine. He's like a shark. And he just bites and eats everything because he has no arms to like hold things. And,
Yeah.
So it's weird. Toy business is weird because it's so price sensitive that you have to get rid of 2 little arms.
Poor gag oil. Go on. Oh, we do have a question here. Oops. I think, did Lovecraft inspire you?
No, I heard that somewhere. No, it didn't. You know what inspired me was nothing really, because I wasn't really into action figures or that kind of stuff that much. I saw Star Wars when I was out. I saw Aliens, but I didn't watch a lot of that stuff really.
Okay, yeah.
But some of the stuff I've heard it, I think, over the years. Oh, the one thing I heard over the years, which sounds like a cool idea, but it wasn't around when the figures, the thing was being done, Inhumanoids was being done, is that it was part of G.I. Joe. It's like, oh, the guys are the same scale as Joe.
Right.
It would have been in the Joe world. No, it wasn't ever that I know of. I love the idea, and I think when you take the little tiny head off,
yeah,
it is a Joe size. And that, I think the idea was that they're getting in giant suits. That's why they're tiny, because there's a small guy in a big suit. But it was never going to be it was never thought of as a Joe thing.
No, I think what that comes from is in the cartoon, Brad Armbruster who is Ace in G.I. Joe, flies a Sky Striker. Mm-hmm. And I think Flint Dille turned him into the Saber Jet character.
Was that later? What year was that?
That was that's like the last 2 episodes. So it's like 13 episodes. So it's just the last year.
Inhumanoids or Joe?
Inhumanoids. So Ace had already been in, because Ace would have been in 83, I want to say, or 84. And so when Inhumanoids came out, when Flint Dille put him in, or Buzz Dixon put him in the cartoon, and I think you designed, or the drawings, one of the drawings for Saber Jet is on there, but his identity would have been Brad Armbruster, which makes him G.I. Joe.
I think that's kind of cool that they did that, but at the time it was never thought of. In fact, when I saw it later, maybe 5 years ago, I saw it somewhere that it was part of Joe. I thought, it was never part of Joe. I love the idea. It's like, well, why not? That would have been really cool. But it's neat that they did that and made it part of Joe.
Yeah, well, actually, all of them are intertwined by the Hector Ramirez character, right? Who's the journalist. Who's like Buzz Dixon hated Geraldo Rivera, thought he was a complete asshole.
Yeah. Right?
And he made this character that's like a journalist. He's in every cartoon that Sunbow made. Gem, Inhumanoids. He's mostly featured. He's actually the biggest role in Inhumanoids, because Augur hates him.
Well, that's actually great, because I was saying to you previously before we went on air that everything I worked on at Hasbro failed, except for the one Transformer thing. And,
tell them that, because they weren't there for that.
Everything.
David was telling me that everything he worked on a bunch of things at Hasbro, and all of them failed. Right?
Yeah, it's so weird, because I came into Hasbro, I was all excited about Transformers, and Joe was really big, and they put me on all the action figures that were weird and that were coming in, because everybody was doing, the whole rest of the guys were doing Joe. So I was doing all these weird action figure things, and everything I worked on when I was at Hasbro, when I look back on it, failed. And my only success was I did the colors because when Transformers came in from Japan, we didn't design Transformers back then. We just recolored them. And they gave me some Transformers. I think I might have done a couple. I don't think they went, but the only one that went was what's the guy's name? The big guy,
Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
I did the colors for, sorry, that's how out of it I am. I did the colors for Optimus Prime, and I wanted him to be like a red, white, and blue guy, but he ended up, I did him red, white, and silver. I did a few variations, and they ended up going with red, white, and red, blue, and silver.
Yeah.
Which was neat. But that, when I think back, it's like that's my only success that I did at Hasbro, which was very, very sad. And it's nice that there's people who like Inhumanoids now, because that was, you know, one of the many big failures that I worked on.
Oh, you're telling you want to buy a Decompose right now? It's going to cost you a couple grand, you know, with a head if he has his head. So, or Metlar, you know, Metlar in box runs a pretty penny, you know. So.
Yeah, you know what I had when I left? I had a 4-up of Metlar's head, because back then they did everything 4-up.
Yeah.
Like the figures, there's one picture of me on my website on Facebook, and I've got all the figures lined up on my window, and they're all 4-up, because we'd do all of them 4-up, and then they'd pantograph them down, which, you know, they don't do that kind of stuff now. But I had it up in my attic for years. I had a big 4-up of Metlar's head.
Damn.
I got so tired of moving it around because it's kind of heavy. I put it in a box one day and I mailed it. I don't know if you know Len Nichols. I mailed it to Len Nichols, who's really into this stuff. He's a big Inhumanoid fan. And I said, Len, here's a present for you. Here, take my Metlar head. And now it's like, wow, that Metlar head's probably worth something.
Oh yeah. That's amazing.
It was probably like that big.
We got a few comments here. We had thank Mad Cobra says you did a great job. Thank you. Golden Age. What kind of toys did you like as a kid, David? Let's put that in there. Yeah. What do you think?
No, I'm glad you asked. Yeah. The only thing I played with when I was a kid was I loved little men. You know, I grew up in the 50s and 60s. That's when I was a little kid, and I played with these little men, and I had like, you know, outer space wasn't big. It was like Western. It was either a Western theme or military theme.
Right.
And it was these little men, and we'd battle. I'd have them all lined up, and I'd have like a Ford. I think I had Ford Apache, and I loved that. I played with that all the time. Then when I got a little older, the Big Joes came out, and I think I got the Marine. But once I got him, it's kind of like, what do I do with him? And I couldn't get another one. I only had the one guy. Like, I don't know. There wasn't much to do with him. He was kind of like the big Metlar or the big Inhumanoid figure. What do you do with it once you got it?
That's true. Yeah. That's why, you know, you need a villain. Like, villains are necessary for it to work. But I think that, you know, it dawned on me. I think Inhumanoids is the only action figure line named after the bad guys. I feel like every other one gets their name from the good guy, right?
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, you know what I wanted to mention? Probably a lot of, if anyone's a humanoid fan on the big Inhumanoid fan.
Oh yeah.
Listening, is how the whole line started.
Yes, please.
Which again, it was a little like it was a little kind of Wild West the way the whole thing happened. A script came in. And the script was like, we got these big monsters and we got these guys that go underground and they fight these big monsters. But the guys weren't in any kind of suit or anything. They were just normal guys. So I think I rewrote it a bit, and it's like I was into robots. So it's like, well, how maybe these humans have robots that they can work with to fight these bad guys. So it was humans and it was robots. And I think I have a sketch on my Facebook that shows a human with a robot, and the robots fight the big guys because they're big. And then I thought, oh, what if they're in like a mech suit? What if it's like a big 9-foot, 10-foot suit, and the guys get into this suit and they fight them? They all have different themes. So that's what we ended up going with. But I know when I started, it was called Light Force, and it was really just humans, not in any kind of suit, fighting the bad guys, the big guys. And then it kind of morphed into the mech suits.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we can call up your
there you go.
images here. Yeah. So as we talk through, Yeah. Oh, so we had another response, which I think says, "Who cares about?" And I believe they're responding to the fact that you said all the stuff you worked on failed.
Yep.
Great job, and I think that it is so true because it's like, yeah, it wasn't a hit then, but then you look at it and it's actually made $70 million. It just wasn't a hit in
I
comparison.
didn't know it made that much because
Yeah,
that's not too bad, really.
it really isn't. Yeah.
80s. I'm I'm surprised they didn't go to a second year, but I didn't think it sold that well. I didn't think it sold that with making that kind of money.
They just wanted everything to be like a knockdown, drag out. If it wasn't a blockbuster, they weren't putting money into it. From what I understand, mostly from the Secret Galaxy channel
Could
talks
be.
about that.
Yeah, they could have been spoiled by G.I. Joe because G.I. Joe was like in its prime.
Yeah.
They were just cranking Joe stuff at that time.
Some of the stuff needed a year or two too. Like, I think to you just need as when you're playing, you kind of need a lot to really get into it,
Yeah.
and it takes a couple of years to get enough for it to be like amazing.
It's weird though, I think the show was great. I think the animation was so good
Yeah,
that if that didn't drive sales, I mean, the figures could have been a lot better. They weren't articulated that much, and they could have been cooler. And I think they could have gotten cooler
yeah.
as we worked on them another year or a couple years down the road. But I thought the show was so good. I know if I was a little kid, I would have really been into the show probably for quite a few episodes, maybe up to 20 episodes before it got strange. But I thought it was such a great show.
Yeah, it's amazing. Those guys are great. So that's a good question. Did you collaborate with them at all? Was it like Flint Dilley and Buzz Dixon, and there's probably other people, but was there like communication between you and the showrunners of the cartoon, or is that how did that work?
No,
No.
no, that was the weird part because what I would do is I would do a sketch like, Dave, we need the four scientists, we need like Metlar. You can see the drawing of Metlar, and I would just do one drawing. That's the only drawing I ever did of Metlar, and that's the only color I ever did Metlar in. And
Oh
I
yeah.
just send it to the studio, and then the scientists were the same thing, one drawing in one color, and I sent it to the studio. And then when the TV show came out, I was like blown away because all my guys that I had sent them were coming to life now. It's like, wow, this is amazing. It's almost, like you've created all these guys, which I had no idea what their personalities would be like. I think we did do the bios on the back
Yes.
a bit. We did name them. I remember we'd actually get together the first year, would go back and forth with some names. And also I think the bios a bit and just send them, but it was always kind of sending stuff out to the studio. And
Oh,
one circumstance was Blackthorn.
mm.
Studio got ahead of me and they did a Blackthorn suit. I saw it. I was watching the cartoon one day and I saw Blackthorn in a suit, and I thought, because I was working on a Blackthorn suit, I said to myself, what the heck? Blackthorn's not supposed to be in a suit yet. So I did communicate with him and I said, what's the deal? Why is Blackthorn in a suit? I said, I'm working on a suit for Blackthorn. It's really cool. And it's like, okay, well, send us the suit that you got. So I sent him my drawing, and then I was watching one of the cartoons like a couple of weeks later or something, and he said, I'll be more powerful when I get my new suit. And that was the suit that I sent. So we didn't really have communication on the storyline or anything. I was surprised as everybody else when the story came out, but I just would do the characters and they would work them into the story. It was a very odd way of developing, but it was fun for me.
I want to see if I can find that Blackthorn while we're talking about him. I
Blackthorn.
love the name of Blackthorn Shore. Is just,
Yeah, I've got him here.
how are you not going to be a villain
There he is.
if your name is Blackthorn Shore? You are.
Yeah.
Like, what hope do you have to not be a villain if your name's Blackthorn Shore? Right?
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked the suit. So I thought, I think the suit that they came up with was kind of cool, but I was getting into this kind of organic-y thing at the time, which this one shows. So I was kind of excited about his suit, and he was going to be one of the big characters in the second year. So it's like, oh, I don't want him to have that suit.
Yeah,
he's going to have this cool suit. So
yeah, because I know what you're talking about. Because in the cartoon, it's much more of just a straight up robot mech looking suit. The other one that they use first, because he shows up in it for like a minute.
Yeah,
something, and then he switches, and he gets your cooler, much more weird suit, right?
Yeah, it was a pretty weird suit. The arm piece, which you can see in the sketch on his, what's that? That's his right arm. I was thinking that was some sort of a shooter thing. But all our sculptors were out of house, so I did like a control drawing, the layout drawings. I did all the drawings, the layout drawings. So I sent it to the sculptor, and he interpreted that more as like, I think I've got it here, as like an animal-y.
Oh yeah, it looks like a chicken.
Yeah, it's kind of like yeah, it's this. It looks like it was ripped off a deer or something. And I saw the arm on the sculpt, and I was going to change it. I thought, oh wow, he really got that wrong. Yeah. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought, that's kind of cool. It changes the texture up, and it looks like he ripped an animal and like put it on and made it into some sort of a weapon. So I thought, let's leave it. It's cool.
It makes sense because he is absolutely pure evil. I mean, you watch the show. Yeah. He's like he's almost hilariously evil, because at one point his plan is he's just gonna bomb the center of the earth. That's just, he says, why? Like, what are you gonna do? How is that gonna gain you anything?
Such evil. I'm glad it doesn't exist in current day.
Don't name your kid Blackthorn.
Right.
First name Blackthorn. You're making him evil. Nice. Yeah, let's talk about, I guess. So after Inhumanoids, I'm just curious as to. So, you worked on that for a few years now, and you had plans for a year 2 and a year 3, which I definitely want to talk about in depth. Yep. That correct. And so then what happened? You worked on many different brands after that, correct?
Yeah. What happened was I was working on Inhumanoids mostly because I worked like the third year out. So it was quite a bit of work, and I was doing models too. Like I built the model for, I can't remember the name of the vehicle the first year, the single rider vehicle.
Oh yeah, the Terran Scout, maybe?
Is that what it's called? I can't remember what the name of it was.
Somebody knows here.
But I had to build that model. I built that model from scratch, and that became the Toy Fair model. So I was kind of building models, and I was doing design work. And a lot of the foam models that I have on my site, I did. And I do a foam model like to kind of get the proportion, make sure the guys could sit on them, because the guys couldn't sit very well. They just kind of put their legs out. So I would kind of roughly sculpt foam. So I was doing a lot of that kind of stuff, and it was getting kind of weird, a lot of weird shapes and organic-y stuff. So I was pretty busy on that. But what happened was they'd get other things in, like we got tribes in, we got air raiders, visionaries.
Oh, air raiders, that's another great one.
Oh, cops. And they would kind of throw it at me. I didn't become the designer on the project, because usually you have like a designer or a couple people driving the project. But they kind of throw it at me, I guess, because you throw it at Dave, he's kind of weird. Maybe he'll come up with something interesting. So I did some cop vehicles, some real early stuff. Nothing ever made it in the line. I did some visionary stuff. I know I looked into the lenticular labels.
Oh yeah.
Tribes. I did some tribes, but didn't do the final tribe stuff. Air raiders, I did a little bit. So I did like a little bit on anything that wasn't Joe, I did a little bit on. As far as Joe goes, like, we don't want Dave to do any of it. No Joe stuff. Which I would have liked to have done some Joe, but Couldn't do
Like
it.
at that point, Ron Rudat was getting weird enough with his like Raptor and
Yeah. Well, Ron started doing actually, Ron got to do, I think he did all the figures on Air Raiders. I think those are all his.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
But
cool.
I always felt like this guy looks a little like an Air Raider figure, especially like, because they're kind of organic-y looking.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was really cool. I know my boss, Steve Reese, invented that item,
Oh, okay.
and I believe he did. And he laid out the figures because the little figures are made in a really cool way. And I think Ron did all the designs for them.
Oh, okay.
That was a neat project. I wish I had done more on that one. And then Dan Price, I think, was the leader on that project.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think Dan was, but a lot of people got involved.
Nice.
But then they took me off and threw me on something else.
Yeah.
I think my main one was Inhumanoids, which took a lot of my time. Well, the other thing I worked on with a designer, Chris Gross, which is a great guy. He's not in the toy business anymore. And we worked on a project called Body Wrap, which, again, it was a wearable drum machine.
Okay.
So it was interesting. They gave us like 2 weeks. They said, all the designers take 2 weeks. You can team up with somebody or do it yourself and come up with a toy and present it to us. So me and my friend at the time, Chris Gross, we were both into music. As you can see, I got some guitars back here. And we wanted to do a musical instrument. So we did this drum machine that you wore. And out of everybody that worked on the stuff, it's the only thing that came out. So it actually went into production. It was at Toy Fair. And it just, again, it died.
So Body Wrap fail. Come on.
Another one of my many failures. So, but it was, that was a fun project to work on. I did a lot of fun stuff at Hasbro, but unfortunately, nothing made them money. I think I cost them more money than I made them.
We have a couple more questions here for you. Hey, do you still own your own concept art? Do you own any other? Have you considered selling it?
I have, and the reason why is, I'm getting old.
What I wanted to
do. Oh, you're big on my screen now.
I do not want to be big on your screen. Here we go. Let me see if I'm trying not to minimize. I was trying to like make. Oh, what did I do? What did I
continue? Yeah, I'm getting older, and I'm thinking, I've got some of my old work in folders, and it'd be nice to get it out to fans. To like when I was at Spin Master, there was one guy who was really into cops.
There we go. That's a layout. Oh,
there you go. Finally.
I see. I did that on purpose. Everybody. That was not me because I don't know what I'm doing. That was me.
When I was working at Spin Master, which was my last job, there was one guy who was really into the cops line, which I never knew. And he looked at my Facebook page one day. We were talking, and he looked through it and he said, "Oh man, you worked on cops. I love cops." And then he sent me a picture of all his cop stuff that he had. And he's not a young guy, he's an older guy. And I thought, wow, you're into cops. So he said, "Hey, could I get a picture? Could I get a print of your one of your cop vehicles?" So I ended up giving him the original art because I thought, what am I going to do with it? It's just sitting in a folder, and when I die, it's going to be probably burned by my wife. And I said, "Here, have the original picture." And he was like very excited about it. And he said, "Sign it, sign it." And I said, "It's already signed. I signed it in like 1986. It's already signed."
That's awesome. I'm a big Cops fan as well. That's another good one.
That was a great line too. Yeah.
That was a great line. Yeah. Nice. So yeah. So I guess let's talk about we'll start with Wave 1. I know we've kind of been jumping around here, but
you mean the line that actually came out?
Yeah, Inhumanoids. So yeah, Wave 1. So there we go. This is a good one, right?
Oh yeah, this one. This is interesting because I was doing the face for Metlar, and it's I needed some reference, and I was looking at stuff, and I saw John Madden's face, and I thought maybe I'll kind of use his face to draw it. You know, where's his nose? Where's his ears? So I kind of used his face as my reference for drawing. And then when I finish, it's like, well, it kind of looks like John Madden, his nose and his brow coming down. So I used his face, to draw Metlar, just as a reference point.
Nice. So how do I guess like what was the creation of Metlar? How'd that go about? They just told you you need 3 big monsters.
Yeah, I think Metlar was I don't know if his name was Metlar, but I think when it originally came to Hasbro, they had humans and they had a monster. And I think a Metlar character was the only, and then they had the trees and they had the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the trees and rock guys. So I took Metlar and I kind of reimagined him a bit. And I don't think they called him Metlar. I think he was just the big monster.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other guy, it's like, well, we need some more. So I just did some roughs on Tendril and Decompose. But I didn't do the final design of those. That was Todd Wise, who I started the line with, did those 2 guys. So I think Todd did those 2 guys. I did Metlar, I did the scientist, and I might have done the rock guy. I know I did some roughs on the rock guy. It's all a blur right now. Yeah. So yeah, and then the scientists, I wanted to put the guys in suits, so we went in that route. And the other thing, in which I mentioned on my Facebook page, was that Liquidator was going to be a girl.
Right, yeah.
It's funny because I never thought of a suit for what's her name? Shore? Is that her name?
Sandra Shore.
Sandra
Shore, I want to say.
I never even thought of putting her in a suit, which I've seen some people do suits for her later. But it's like,
sorry, she gets a suit in the cartoon.
Yeah, I don't know why I never really thought of it. And she never, it might have been because they were poo-pooing girls at the time. Because I proposed Liquidator as a girl, and you can see in this is the original sketch with the girl. And then I have another sketch where the girl's face is torn off because she becomes a guy. And it was like, why can't we do a girl? Oh, girls don't sell. Girl action figures don't sell to boys, So it was a different world back in the 80s too. So we made her into a guy. But I think the suit looks a little girly. But again, when you look at that Liquidator sketch, it's so weird because that was the only drawing I did of Liquidator, which was a back view. And I never did a drawing of the front view of Liquidator. And so what I would do is, once it's like, okay, we're doing Liquidator, then I do a layout drawing. It would be the front view, the side view, so they could build a model from it. So I designed it in the control drawing, the front of the character. The other character that I remember I don't think I did a sketch of was Tank. Tank was the...
Yeah.
I got him here. Tank is this guy.
Yes. Let's see if I can find him.
Yeah, Tank, I don't believe I ever did a sketch of him. I just went right to control drawing with him, and I wanted to do a Tank like Russian guy. So it was just designed in the control drawing, not a sketch.
Oh, I love Tank though.
Which is weird. He would have been a fun guy to sketch. I've never sketched him.
Yeah, but there is like a sculpt of him somewhere. Oh, there's a sculpt here.
Yeah. Well, I have it here.
There's a sculpt. Okay.
Well, this is the painted sculpt.
So how did that? So they got to the point where they're going to make a Tank.
Well, I wanted. Oh, there's a good shot of him. I just designed him in control drawing. I never did a sketch of him.
Okay.
A color sketch. And then when I spec'd the color, I think I just spec'd it when we got the model. I think I just picked the colors. I wanted it to be kind of a military looking character. So that's why he's all kind of dark.
Yeah.
I don't think that weapon though is the correct color. It looks like it's just gray on that model. I think that was brown also.
Yeah, I feel like his legs. Oh, he has Tank treads on his feet.
He has Tank treads that snapped on the bottom.
Okay, yeah.
I think that was his big accessory, but that thing on his arm too, I think that might have had water in it. I think you pushed it and squirted water.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
I think. I can't remember. It did something. It rotated.
Now, did you create Tank, or was that
I did, yeah.
nice? Oh, cool.
Yeah, what I tried to do the second year, you can see the difference between in that picture you have on the screen is interesting because you can see Auger and you can see Tank. I
Yeah.
tried to get them more dynamic looking. So, he's got like a bigger chest, he's got a thinner waist, he's got bigger legs. And Saber Jet too, which I did. I kind of gave him a little teeny waist.
Right.
So I was trying to get them to look more exciting than the first line, because when I looked at the first year line, I thought they kind of dull looking. Their proportions are kind of dull. It could be more exaggerated.
Right.
So I was working on that, but still the articulation was very minimal. It was pretty much the same.
Nice. I feel like there was a He-Man was a big hit around the same time, and you had the bigger guys and the special feature. Is there any like thought of that in the talks of how we're gonna, because you could have gone a G.I. Joe route, right? But they decided not to. So it feels like this feels more in line with like a He-Man, where you got like every character is a special feature. They're big.
Yeah, well, I think with Inhumanoids you had one like arm or something that was a special, had something. And they weren't, when you think of them today, they're not very special features like Liquidators with the water pack, and
that's pretty fun.
Auger with the thing that rotated. It's not that big of a deal, but they all had one kind of arm feature, and then their helmets came off and they had the light pipe in their head, and that was pretty much it. And I don't know if that's why the line failed, because I think back then that was enough. I don't know what it was. I think, I don't know, because the show was so good. Maybe my designs just really sucked. I don't know.
Well, you know what, the show can. I think the designs they're pretty weird, but they're really fun. I think that's a good question. Yeah, why do you think well, I mean, like I said, it didn't really fail. It just didn't blow up in the same way.
I think failure, coming from Spin Master 2, they've had a lot of failures. And one thing I worked on at Spin Master was a line called Tenkai Knights, which was, they were going after Lego. And it was Lego pieces that transformed into figures.
Okay.
And also transformed into accessories. So everybody liked it. It was like, oh, we're going after Lego. We're going up against Lego, and this is a cool feature. And so they did. They said, let's come up with a show to sell it.
Right.
So they came up with this show, 10 Kai Nights, which everybody ended up calling 10 Gay Nights. And the show now, it's like the success depended on the show, because before it was kind of a cool transforming Lego idea. Now it's a show. So if you don't like the show, you're not going to buy the cool Lego transforming pieces, and it just failed. And it was lots of money in the show they put into it. And the product was, they did all different price points of product, and it was such a big thing. And it's like, it's got to be successful. We're doing a show, but it was just so focused that it didn't open you up for different opportunities. It was, I think an item was neat, and it would be a neat item for Lego to do, transforming blocks. But then you got to love the show too. Right. And then the show just kind of appeals to boys. So, there's so many factors of why things fail. And, like I said before, almost every thing I worked on at Hasbro failed. In fact, I think Cops was fairly successful.
That was successful, yeah.
And I didn't work on that really. Aerators was kind of successful. Oh, and then the other one that they did when I was there, and I didn't do anything on it, was the wrestler figures, which I thought were really great.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, like
I don't even
Hasbro a little later. I
can't remember what that was called, but they started that. In fact, I think Dan Price was the designer that worked on that, which was a great line.
Yeah.
But again, It's like, oh, it's going to be a semi-successful. Let's not let Dave touch it.
Well, I mean, you think about it, like a lot of these things are, like Visionaries is another one. Absolutely, people obsess over Visionaries and Humanoids, and that was another one. 1 year.
Yeah.
Didn't Air Raiders? I think only made 1 year. And these things all have obsessive fans.
Well, Tribes did try. I don't know if Tribes ever came out. I saw some of the finished product later, but I don't know if it made it past Toy Fair. But
yeah, I don't remember Tribes. So
I like the name. I think I had Hasbro at the time. They loved the name, and I liked the shtick. I thought it was kind of neat. Their shields became like part of their body or something, and I thought that was a pretty cool line. But I think that failed too, and that had kind of a He-Man-ish proportion to it. The final product.
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but that might also be like I'm one of those people. I was in high school still buying toys, and then finally I was like, all right, now I have to spend my own money. So that was why I stopped. I have to spend my own money. I'm not.
That's right. You have to do that. Forget it.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that we talked about earlier is probably like the fact that the villains were huge, and that's like the villains. I think right now, the villains, the Mutors, they're like very obsessed over, But I think it was tough because if you couldn't afford the big villain, who do you fight against if you just have your Earth Core guys?
Right.
You pretty much only have good guys. And so I think your plan for the season 2 and season 3 had those things made it into season 1, I think, or wave 1, it maybe would have worked better. I think it's something we talked about.
Yeah, we're trying to do lower price point fighting guys. But that could fight together, and they're not the big monster. And I think second year we're just doing the 2 monsters. But the other thing that was different was the first year we did the 2 mechanical riding vehicles, where the second year they were they were organic-y animals.
Yeah. All right, let's look. I can pull up one of those actually. Let's see. So yeah, let's talk about those. So were you?
That was probably one of the more fun things that I had done because I really got into, they were just getting kind of weird looking. Like,
oh, here we go. Here's one.
Yeah, like those guys. Like that one started. That's the final model. That's actually the final sculpt.
Okay, yeah.
But before that, some of the foams that I did, which are on there too, it had a giant seat coming up.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sat on a seat, and then we couldn't afford that.
Oh yeah.
So that one is when it was lower price. So I carved that foam. But then if you scroll down more, it had a giant seat on it.
Okay, yeah.
And we ended up getting rid of that because of the cost. We had to.
Oh,
that one. So that was the original one. It had this big seat, which I really thought was cool. But we had to get rid of that because it cost too much. So it's like, Dave, can you mold the seat into the main character? So I had to pull it down and mold it in. So then the next generation of foam, I think I probably just modified this foam. I probably cut that seat off and kind of.
That thing makes it in the cartoon too, by the way.
What's that?
That thing is in the cartoon as well.
It is, yeah, which is neat.
Yeah,
because we never even did. We weren't close to finalizing that. Well, I mean, we had the model, but we never went to tool on that at all.
Oh yeah. So you just like would get art and just send it over to Sunbow and they would incorporate things, or?
Yeah, on that one. And I think the one that Ron had done, they also did put it in the cartoon. It was a ride-on character.
Okay, yeah.
It was a control drawing of it.
Let's see if I can find that one. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, I think it's towards the end. Oh, this was a weird character here with the shell. I was never that excited about it, and I don't remember how it happened, but I think I came up with a character, and that's why I have a few of them, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. What this character did, it folded up and it went underneath a shell.
Oh, okay.
Shell, and then it folded out of the shell, and the legs folded down, and the head folded up. See the stomach? It folded it like into the stomach, and then it all fit under the shell. And then when it came out, the shell kind of snapped on the back of it. And they were gonna. I think that was third year. That one.
Oh, okay.
That one was a go for sure.
Now, was this a good guy or
I think
villain?
he was.
He's kind of cute.
I think he might have been bad. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, he's kind of adorable.
I don't know about that. Oh, I have him in third year. I put good and bad on these. Let me see. I don't even see that one.
Oh yeah.
He looks bad to me. I think he was a bad guy.
Okay, yeah. All right, here's another Steed. This is the other one.
Oh, that's the one with the legs too. Yeah, we were gonna. That was also gonna be third year. So you can see the vehicles became animals that year, which I sort of like better. I don't know if I like the vehicles all that much. You know, the two vehicles we did first year. It's like,
I think one of them is the Trapper. It's kind of cool. It's got some. I feel like you need, if you're going to fight Metlar, you need something that's going to trip them. So it's good.
That's the bigger one. Is that
the bigger one? Yeah, the other one, we're not crazy about the little one, but the big one, the Trapper, is kind of cool. It's got like a.
I did the little one.
You didn't. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I did actually a
yeah.
designer. Her name was Laurie Dahlberg. Did the bigger one.
The Trapper, yeah. I feel like they kind of, man, I don't know how you're gonna fight Metlar. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, with that one, there was just this weird gun on the front, but yeah, I guess you could just drive away from him, really fast.
Well, that was the smaller price point vehicle,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, mine was a little cheaper, right?
The Trapper was the.
I wasn't nuts about that vehicle. I think it could have been a lot cooler, but I like it. I like going with a ride-on monster better. I thought that was, and it's more fun to design it too. I had a blast, carving these things out of foam and kind of feeling them out.
Well, that's cool. So that was part of the process. You just carve them out of foam.
Yeah, at Hasbro back then, it was Wild West days, and the designer just kind of did everything. Like all the G.I. Joe guys, they built all their models. Like if you were a designer and you designed the aircraft carrier, you're gonna build it.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, like I remember guys building the planes. You design it, and then every designer built the thing. And when they were building the model, and they were really nice models, I thought, thank God I'm not having to do that, because I would rather draw than. It takes a long time to build a model.
How would they build it all? Was it all out of foam, or would they use different?
No, it was all. They would build rubber molds and mold into it, and they were all able to break down, and they were all down to a wall, so they could duplicate them for Toy Fair. They were basically Toy Fair models that they were building.
Okay, yeah.
They were very nice. Yeah. Super models. That's the one thing with Hasbro. I think if you were in the G.I. Joe team in the 80s, you're going to leave Hasbro as a really good model builder if you work in G.I. Joe.
You took that model with you and you put it in your attic and sold to somebody now, you'd be
yeah. Also, even the little vehicle that you don't like that I did, I built the Toy Fair model. It broke down into pieces, and they could cast it in rubber and duplicate it for Toy Fair. And it took me a long time. I wasn't drawing for quite a few weeks when I had to build that thing.
We got a good comment here, by the way. It's like watching an actor and their stunt double talking. I think he's remarking on that. You and I look similar.
I take that as an insult.
As we're, I assume maybe you don't have any hair under there either.
We'll never know. I have been looking at those kind of hats, so I thought, maybe I should go with a different type of hat. Yeah. I wear this kind of hat. I wear this kind of hat a lot because I play tennis, and when I play outside, I always have to wear a hat because of the sun. So I've kind of grown accustomed to this hat, but I'll never take it off. It's my disguise. So if you run into me on the street, you won't know me. You'll go, well, he's not bald. It can't be him.
So yeah, let's talk about So the plan for wave 2 and wave 3, I'm really curious as to. So
Yeah,
sorry.
wave 2, do you have a question? I could just go over wave 2.
Oh yeah, go. That'd be great. Yeah, and
Yeah, so
I'll
wave
try to
2,
find stuff as in.
we had, we had really cool oh, that's wave 3. Oh, I think year 3, we had really cool characters too. I think we had cool characters every year except the first year. In my opinion, they were better. So wave 2, we had uh, the guy with the whip, with Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
there's Saber Jet.
Blackthorn,
There's Brad
Saber
Armstrong.
Jet.
There
Now
we
I
go.
did all these guys, did Saber Jet, and I did Tank. So we had those 4 guys, and I saw in the script that they had other guys, and one guy was, it was this guy. I've got him on my screen. What's his name? I don't know what his name is, but he's got like a weird yellow head.
Weird yellow head.
And I think he was, they had him in the script as one of the characters, but I hadn't developed him into a toy at that time. I just had the 4 characters.
Oh, let's talk about let's talk about
I
Nightcrawler.
love Nightcrawler. I loved actually I liked all of them. I thought Saber Jet was cool. I liked the second wave way better. And then we had the more organic animals. We had this guy, I've got him on my screen, but he was like a skeleton guy. He's on my site. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
But we actually did an up model of him, and he had like guts. He was kind of a takeoff of Decomposed, because he was all skeleton. He's on there somewhere. He was all skeleton, and then he had like a gut package that kind of came out the back, and I thought, oh, that could be his tail. It's probably going in the other direction.
Other direction. Okay, yeah. Stop me when I get to him, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was neat because he was like, I thought of him as Decomposes, like.
Oh, he's a like he's not even a guy more. He's a monster, right?
He was a monster. Yeah, he was a bad guy. So we had that guy. He's way down. Sure, have a lot of
there he is.
There he is. So yeah, that guy. He started off like this, and he had the long head. But I think because of the package, they wanted me to make his head flatter. So if you flip down to another one, I replaced his head with a flatter head. Yeah, the next one down, and that's the up model. I think that was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh no, go up the next one. Yeah, this guy. So it was basically him. So that was production, or the model for production.
Yeah.
Not this guy, not this drawing, the gray one.
Oh.
This one right here, right there. So I flattened his head, but he had like a gut piece that stuck out the back, which was kind of cool. And he was second year. Can't remember what his name was though. Yeah, but his arms went in and out. I don't know why, but
oh, like yeah, that makes sense. Like extend. Yeah, so something like that would have, I think, been a lower price point.
Yeah,
but it had a monster. So now he's got like I like his face. I can almost see he's got like a big grin almost.
Yeah. Well, like he originally had that big snout, but I think the package. A lot of times with toys, you design around the package. So I had to like flatten his head.
Yeah.
Push him in. So that's
a Pink Floyd-ish like reference or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So that was I think that was all of wave 2.
And now he was supposed to be like sort of one of Decompose's like little buddies.
Yeah, he was very Decomposed alike. Yeah. And then the big one was Gag Oil, which it seems like everybody really likes him.
Love Gag Oil.
I have nothing on him. I never did a sketch of him. Oh, I did do a sketch of him, but there's
a sketch on here.
No, there isn't. There's a control drawing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
But he was designed mostly in the control drawing, but I do remember doing a sketch.
Okay, where is
it?
Oh, there we go.
3/4 sketch, and I remember doing him in blue, and he became blue, right?
Yeah, he's blue. Yeah,
I did the sketch in blue, and like I said, he had arms, but we had to get rid of the arms.
he's my favorite.
He was pretty cool. Yeah, he looked great. That model Actually took that picture
That is
that I
beautiful.
have. That was the head of sculpting on the side. His name was Roger Avery,
Oh, nice.
and he posed with him. But yeah, I love that sculpt. Wish it came out. It was all ready. That was the final model right there. It had the part line and everything on it.
Now that's sad. Yeah, because that gag oil is amazing. What is the what was his like action feature?
The belly.
Okay.
So it wasn't much. You know, you could put a figure, you could put one of the guys inside and you could see him through the stomach because the
Hmm.
whole front was clear. And I think in
Okay.
the cartoon it showed that.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that's what I assumed.
You could watch him being digested.
Right. So would you be able to like? How would you get him back out? Would he like? You just
I
stick
think
your
you
hand?
just pull in his mouth or pull him out the back.
Okay. Oh, pull him out the back. He poops him out.
That
Huh?
would be a good idea. No, I think you just pull him out. He's like a, kind of like a toy box. Yeah. Head just open, kind of open like that.
Yeah.
The other cool character which was Third Year, and he didn't have a name. I'm going to just open my Third Year.
Okay. Yeah.
For anyone watching, I have files on my desktop because I can't remember what came out in what year, but there was a guy, a bad guy, and he had like a triangular head. He was made out of brick. And I thought that guy, years later, I looked at the guy and I thought, that guy was really kind of ahead of his time. I think that design, because he had a cage on his chest and
Okay.
the cage opened and he had like a rat in there inside.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And I thought, because I saw action figures later that had little guys inside them,
Yeah.
and I thought, wow, I was very forward thinking back then to do that.
Now you say he's not on here?
No, he is, yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Oh,
Oh,
there
there he is.
that's him.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so
wild.
that the front would open. It was like it was like he was in prison. It was his rat, and it was like he was a bad guy, so he was going to be a bad guy, and he had that rat in his chest. So that would have been Third Year. So I thought Third Year was even getting cooler. And then I had the
Mm.
elephant guy with the elephant thing, and the gunslinger guy. He had like these guns that popped up. He was a good guy. And then the devil character.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like that. Yeah, that is fascinating. So
So, and then the Brain Man, which was, questionably, is that a good figure? I don't know, but I like the idea of it.
so what in Third Year? What was because you talked to you told me this a little earlier, but the big villain was going to be
In Third Year, the big villain,
monster was going to be.
I don't think we had a big villain. No, we didn't. We didn't have a big villain yet at the time.
Okay. What about? Did you say that Satan was going to be a part of it?
Satan was a small character.
Okay.
There's a sketch of Satan. He's red, but I called him the devil. So
Okay.
the Third Year we
You would
had
have been in trouble, man, for that. I think.
what's that?
I feel like
There he is.
there was always a Christian like group screaming about something, or like not even like just uptight moms that would be angry about something. You know what I mean?
I was
That's really
totally
crazy.
removed from any of that.
Yeah, this whole line was just an affront to them. So wait,
Yeah,
is this Satan?
yeah, that's building up. So I've got the rough. I'm sorry, I'm pointing at your screen. You can't see. I had like the rough sketch, and then I had done him in purple, and then I thought he really has to be red. So this was going to be the guy. This was
Oh,
the
the
final
red
guy.
one. If I click on this,
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. So the
Satan.
same character was Third Year, and then the gunslinger guy
That's
and the elephant guy with the big elephant thingy, big elephant trunk, which I thought that guy was pretty cool too.
Oh,
Oh, the gunslinger. There's a gunslinger on the left.
this guy.
On my left. Yep. Yeah, that guy was going to be Third Year.
Is
So
he?
he was a good guy.
Okay, yeah, he's so
Yeah.
yeah.
And he had jets. I can't see his feet on your picture, but he had jets on his feet. So
Oh yeah, yeah. That's right.
take off and his guns came up.
Right.
So he was pretty cool. And then the other one was the Brain Man, which was probably the weirdest character. Would have been the weirdest character in the line, but
Which one's he?
What's that?
Where's he?
No, that's not. Oh, there he is. Yeah, the Brain Man. So it's like his entire suit is like a brain, an organic brain. So he's like wicked smart. Only when he's in the suit.
Oh, okay. Wait, is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
He would have actually would have been a great bad guy.
yeah, he looks pretty bad. Lance Lazy Eye, that's his name.
Yeah, and that was based that when you take the helmet off, that was based on a guy who worked at our place. Cool guy, Lance Kirschnoff. Great guy. So that was going to be Lance, and Lance was quite a character.
That's hilarious.
He was only smart, and Lance was always smart, but this guy was only smart when he was, brilliant when he was in the suit. Out of the suit, forget it.
Nice. So what's the idea? Where are they getting these suits from now? Because they first looked more tech. Now they look kind of alien.
Yeah, I think they were going more organic. Well, I think Auger was
That's true. Auger looks
organic.
Yeah.
I think I was getting in, I just enjoyed rendering, and I think I enjoyed doing more organic-y shapes.
Oh, yeah.
Robotic shapes. So it was really me. I was just experimenting with my organic shapes. Like, I love the characters. When you have different textures, you got chrome, you got fur, you got different stuff going on. So, that was always fun to sketch up.
Oh, yeah, we got a comment here. Power Ranger monsters.
Power
They look a little bit like Power Ranger monsters. You can see them as villains. Power Ranger villain, like the Satan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, let's have a question. What happened to Lady Liquidator? Although we kind of talked about that, right?
Lady Liquidator. Yeah, when I presented her as a girl, they said girls don't sell. Action figure girls don't sell. So, but this, this was the 80s, it's very, very boy oriented. So like, okay, I'll make it into a guy. So.
That's why, when Susan Shore gets her suit, it's the only suit you didn't design, and it's the only suit. It's very plain.
Yeah, it would have been nice to design her a suit, but it probably never entered my mind to even consider it because they didn't want to do girl figures. So, but then again, they put her in a suit. So those guys, the animators, got away with it, but I can't do it.
They were always putting girls in. Yeah, they love the girl. Buzz Dixon loves the girls, I think.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could have designed her a suit, although it would never come out as a toy. It would have just been in the show.
That's true. Yeah.
They're not gonna, it's not gonna be a problem if she's not a toy because she's not gonna sell. I guess.
Nice. So there was no plan for a big monster though for the third year. We didn't get that far.
I'm sure there would have been, but I can't recall. I can't recall one. I think we might have been thinking about it, but I think after the second year, the air was sort of out of it and it wasn't going to go on. And I had worked into the third year, but I don't think I got into any monsters. I got into mini monsters. Like I have the guy, I'm looking at them on my screen, the guy that's kind of like, they were smaller monsters. It was like the ice guy. He's made out of ice.
What was that? What's that? Oh, that's the elephant guy.
But they weren't big guys.
Okay.
And then there was a guy that had like a long nose. Oh, this guy here, on the bottom.
Oh, this guy?
Yeah, that guy. Oh, and then the guy under him, right? So I worked on these mini monsters. I don't think they had a name. This guy I really liked. He was like, ice. Those were supposed to be big ice things on him. And he kind of emerged out of the ice and there are all the ice is attached to him. But I don't remember what his shtick was. You know what? I think his parts shot off because if you look at some of the parts, I think I'm pointing and I think they were maybe spring loaded, some of his ice cubes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can see. Yeah.
But I pictured him like this size. I didn't picture him to be big. I think we were kind of thinking to maybe phase out of the big guys because, it was kind of killing the line.
They were too expensive. Yeah. It's just sad because they're like the coolest thing. That's like the one thing this never really, I guess, hasn't really been done since and hadn't been done before where you had like big giant monsters fighting little.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, right.
Everyone learned from this,
Yeah.
from this action figure line. You don't do that.
Yeah.
People would present it years later, and they go, "Oh, we don't want another Inhumanoids. Oh God,
Where there's
anything
all
with that." And then I think the one above it or below it was another one that would have been third year. It was like kind of the same scale. I always liked this guy.
okay.
I think this guy was great, but
Yeah.
he would have been, I guess, bad, but
He doesn't look good.
he would have been. He would have been fun.
Look nice. He doesn't look.
Yeah, he doesn't. His teeth look. He's kind of like half piranha, I think.
Yeah.
So that was about it. I'll look at my schedule. Oh, and then I had a vehicle that I thought was neat. It was called the Rat vehicle, which was a more mechanical vehicle. And then I had another vehicle that had like a telescopic chair on it. That was third year too.
Oh, is this?
Well, there it is. There's the Rat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been third year. I would have loved to have built this. I thought this was really cool.
That is cool. What's the tail do?
You don't want to know.
I do.
I think the mouth was going to open. But I really like that one. And then the other one was bizarre. It was like this. I have a foam of it in here. It's got like a telescopic thing. And the telescopic thing was so it would come up like that, so they could fight the monster. The good guys could fight the monster to their head.
Oh yeah, okay.
Let's see them up. That was the idea behind that.
Let's see. Is it down? You think?
I think it's down. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going.
Here we go. Now you have all these sculpts still?
No. Oh, there's the bit 4 up, so you can see my feet, and all those guys were 4 up on my window there.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, that's great.
So those were neat. I
great.
Don't have any of those guys, but these are all those were all 4 up guys.
That is very cool. And what's that? Oh, I don't see the telescoping vehicle though.
Oh, that's weird.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that is awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a cool. It does feel like the second, third wave were very cool and would have been a lot of fun. You can see it feels like a little bit of a different collection, which is cool. You can see how it would have evolved, and you would have had many different other ways to play. With it.
Yeah, I think just as a designer too, I was new to doing action figures. So the first year it was kind of like, I kind of referenced this big guy, like I was telling you, as my staple.
Yeah.
But I was branching out as a artist, I guess, the second and third year, and getting more funky, and it's like, I wonder if they'll do this one, and it was almost challenging. I wonder if they'll do a devil figure. Maybe throw it out there and see if they put that one in. So
what was their response when you're like, yeah, let's make Satan?
I think I didn't call it Satan. I called it the devil.
Oh, right. Okay.
I felt like it got a good response. I felt like all the figures, I didn't have a lot of levels that were judging at the time. It was kind of like straight from me to the animator. So I didn't have a lot of pushback. So I kind of, that's why I went in weird directions, because it was like whatever mood I'm in that day, that's what I'm doing. And, it was a lot of fun to do that.
That's awesome. Nice. Well, I think we covered everything pretty much, right? Or just about.
I think so. We didn't go to year 4, but I would like to have seen it.
What would you have done there? Once you brought Satan in, I don't know where you go from there.
There's a picture on my site. Actually, I think it's towards the top, and somebody outside did a great model. They took the suits and they made them so they opened, and a G.I. Joe type figure went in them.
Yeah.
On my thing, on my Facebook, and to me that would have been cool to go in that direction, get more, or even year 4, year 5 mesh with G.I. Joe. Have Joes in these mech suit things that opened up and you could put your Joe in. And I think that would have been a kind of a neat direction. But when I saw that some fan did those suits, it's like, that's the idea, because everybody goes, why has it got such a tiny head? Why is it so small? And it's like, you know, if you don't read the bio and stuff, even the show, I don't think showed that enough. But it was always a big suit with a little guy. And that picture, or those models that he did, it really represented that well. And I thought, you know, that would have been neat to go in that direction, get into it more like that.
Yeah.
It might be down. I think you might have passed it.
Did I pass it? Yeah.
Oh, right there. Yeah. Go up. Well, it's just above the book. Right. Right there. You click on those.
Oh,
guys.
this one. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So I could see it going in this direction where those guys, the suits open and the guys go in. Oh, that's not really. No, that's not the one I was thinking of. There's another one and the suits are opened up.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. Is it possibly not in this album, or is it?
But I guess make the action figures cooler. But I think in the 80s they weren't. They were kind of chunky, and you know, they weren't as delicate as they are nowadays. You know, nowadays they have like 15, 20 points of articulation. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Insanity. But you know, it would have been nice to do that, to put more articulation in it.
But it's good fun though.
Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, well, it might actually. I think somebody mentioned up here Super 7 having some sort of interest in it.
Oh right, yeah. I had a conversation with
was it Brian Flynn or
Brian. I had a conversation with Brian. He thought I had the rights to Inhumanoids. I guess he was trying to find out who had the rights.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I did a Zoom call with him a few years ago, and we talked about it for a while, and he wanted to get the rights to do it. And I said, I don't have them. I think it might be Marvel. I think Marvel might have the rights to it.
That would be great. Yeah, finally get a gag oil. That's what
me too. But you know, that was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I talked to him, and nothing's come out. So,
well, nothing ever goes away.
I'll send him something, and I'll say, "Where's Inhumanoids? Where are they? When are you going to do those?"
I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if it doesn't, because in the past year we've seen a new Gem, Mask,
right?
RoboForce, which no one remembers. I don't think anybody remembers RoboForce. All of it's come back, so
yeah,
very possible that as long as they can track down the rights, that we'll see. That'll be really fun.
One thing I didn't say to the audience when we were live is when this came out, right around the same time this came out, or right after I think Inhumanoids came out, Ninja Turtles came out, and I think they were going to be at Toy Fair, and I saw Ninja Turtles, and I thought, what a stupid idea that is. To Turtles as an action figure. I just couldn't get it. I thought, that's not going to do good.
Yeah.
Who's going to buy that? And that was like right after the Inhumanoids came out, they became toys. And it's like, I was scratching my head thinking, there's no way, who would want that? And they were making a big deal about it. And they're still around.
They are, man. And they put out like 20 of them a week, I feel like.
Yeah. So I guess I was a little off on that one.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but is there anything else you want to, anything we didn't cover, anything?
I think we covered all the Inhumanoids.
We covered a lot. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Also, if anyone on the call has questions for me about anything, just go on my Facebook and ask me. Some answers I know, some I don't. It's been a few years, and I'm getting a little old and foggy, so I sort of remember, or I don't, or I can make it up right there. And
oh wait, okay. Well, I do have a question for you. Maybe we close. That we didn't cover. Here we go. What was it like working at Hasbro? Was it an exciting time to be there?
I really liked it. You know, when I started there, it was they weren't big like they are now. They were just kind of getting bigger, and they were in a renovated A&P store.
Oh yeah.
And I had a seat. I was sitting right next to Ron Rudat, which was great. You know, Ron's super talented, and a lot of him rubbed off. Actually, we worked on a project together. I think the only one we worked on together was we did the Air Raiders air factory. It was a big.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, we need this factory right away." So Ron did part of it, and I did part of it. He did one half, I did the other half, and we were working together, and the thing never came out. It was in the Toy Fair catalog, but it never came out. But back then, I worked right across from Ron, and he was smoking every day. Like, you could smoke in the office, and I'd go home at night. I didn't never smoke, and I would smell like cigarettes. My wife was like, "Oh, you smell like cigarettes," and hopefully it didn't bother my lungs, but it was weird back then because you could just smoke right in the office. But it was great sitting next to him. But then when we moved to the other building, they had a building which I still think they have, is the big factory building.
Oh yeah.
That they converted, and I wasn't sitting next to Ron anymore. Actually, we were very isolated because we all had like our own office. But it was great. I really enjoyed working at Hasbro. I think my best job ever, because I worked at Mattel. The toy companies I worked for, just to let everyone know, has been Tyco, which was terrible. Hasbro, which was very good. Atari, but it wasn't really a toy company, but it was Atari was interesting. And Play School in Chicago briefly before Hasbro bought out, and that was interesting. And then I worked at Mattel for 5 years in Hot Wheels and preschool. And I would say Mattel was my by far most fun job. Recently, last 23 years, I worked at Spin Master in Toronto. But I would say my most favorite job as a designer was Mattel. And everybody kind of poo-poos Mattel. Oh, Mattel's terrible to work at. I thought it was great. It was so great.
Well, now Hasbro's terrible to work at.
Is it?
I hear. That's what I hear. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know, but I mean, I do kind of know actually because I live and have 30, friends who work there. But
I think maybe they come and go. It's all about who the boss is, who your boss is, or who's running the place. And when I was at Hasbro, Stephen Hasenfeld was in charge, and he was great.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Great. And he was in charge the entire time I was there, and I thought he was really great. And Mattel is very impersonal. It's hard to get to know the upper guys, but the job itself it was just so exciting. Hot Wheels was like,
oh yeah,
so exciting to work in.
What kind of stuff did you do with Hot Wheels? Like,
I started in preschool. They hired me for preschool. Again, never did preschool before. Let's hire this guy to do preschool. So I come in and I'm drawing preschool. I have some of my preschool stuff in my Facebook. And when I started drawing preschool, I started drawing it like a designer, like rendering it and doing it as a design, like a designer does it. And then it's like, well, that's not the right style. So I started to do it more bigger, thicker line and chubby and blocky colors. So I got the kind of a preschool feel down, and it was very different than the way I was drawing before. So that was interesting. But then they had an opening in Hot Wheels, and so they took me. So I go from preschool to Hot Wheels, which is weird. But my background was car design.
Yeah, there you go.
That was just great. Hot Wheels was just great. You go to conventions all the time, sign things, and meet all the fans. And I went to Ferrari twice.
It's a good comment for you.
Just had a blast. It was a blast. It was like, they're paying me to do this. It's so great.
Nice. We see Gady's Toys saying, "Get the Satan designer to make toddler toys," right?
Yeah, really.
From Satan to preschool.
In Disney, they were doing Disney, so I was doing Disney and Winnie the Pooh toys for like 3 years, and then I got into Hot Wheels after that. But yeah, it's challenging. I think as a designer, you want that challenge. In fact, preschool is probably the most difficult product I've ever designed because you're designing it for somebody who's not your size, smaller hands. They don't understand what you're, it's not usually when you're designing as a designer, you're designing something for people like yourself. But in preschool, you're designing for a whole different kind of person, a little person.
Yeah.
and and you have to take that into consideration. What do they like? How do they play? How big are their hands? What can they do? And it's
Right.
very challenging as a designer. You know, it looks simple. It's like, oh, that's just chubby looking. You can do that. It's, you know, that's just the surface of it. And it's so, there's so much to it, safety and all kinds of stuff. So it's, for a designer, it's a great learning thing. Because your end user is not like you at all. It's
right. Yeah.
And then going into Hot Wheels, it's like, oh, the end user is me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so easy. So that was great.
Great. Well, all right. Well, thank you so much. I think we've covered a lot. Really appreciate it, and thank you.
That's
Sorry, what'd you say?
Thank you, everyone, for showing up.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 2.
Yeah. There might be a few more, I'll say. Yeah, and thanks for creating all the cool toys too, and good memories.
Well, it was fun. It was, yeah, probably more fun for me than anyone else. I probably enjoyed Inhumanoids more than the children at the time because I enjoyed designing them. And then they go to play with them. It's like, I can't play with this. This guy's too big. Well, it was fun to do.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So thanks for showing up, guys and folks.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
See you later.
See you.